Hey, it's Dr. Mary Watson, the unapologetic therapist, psychoneuroimmunologist, doctor of naturopathy. I am going to share this out and we'll get started. Hope you guys are having a great night. I've been looking forward to this all day. We're going to talk about how I fell in front of the auditorium and how that has colored some of the other things I think about myself. It's quite interesting. Let's see, everything is going really slow. I thought I charged my computer so that I could just do this and go. If you're hopping on, tell me where you're hopping on from, how you're doing. If you want a card, put an emoji in the comments and I will pull one for you. I pulled one for the collective earlier, but I will be glad to pull one for you individually if you want one. I'm going to share this one other place and then we will get started. Hi, Bridget. So excited to see you. I think I just shared this again to my own timeline. Pretty sure that's what I just did. Oh well, it'll be okay. Okay, let's get the party started. Hope I shared it everywhere I meant to. That was my goal. But I fell in front of the entire auditorium, and that event colored my self-worth for years, years and years and years. And the pain that ensued was really remarkable. And you would only imagine how I carried that with me over the years. It was pretty embarrassing, actually. It was at least 500 people, if not more. But I'm going to talk about how that manifested itself into pain in a way that is pretty palatable and in a way that helps you to understand. Most people know that my belief is that pain stems from unresolved emotions and trauma. And most are familiar with the fact that trauma doesn't really have to be, or maybe you're not. Maybe this is the first time you've ever heard that trauma doesn't have to be some catastrophic lights and sirens. I was on the 6 p.m. news when I was 6 kind of event. It doesn't have to be that. It could be a harsh, cold, mocking laugh. It could be a deliberate insult or an effort to exclude you. It could be a pattern. It could be a repeated series of interactions to hurt you. Just enough in the moment, just enough in the moment to pile up and let the pain get its hooks in you. And maybe you stuffed it away. Maybe you put it away like, companies coming over and you just want to get it out of sight, out of sight, out of mind. And you never really processed it. You never really let yourself deal with it. You might not even realize the effect it had, like I didn't, until much, much later. So you don't even realize that you've really worked so hard to forget it and press it down and push through it that it's now showing up and kind of holding you back from being the badass that you always wanted to be. And I'm going to give you two events that, will help you kind of understand what I mean. Like I said, if you wanted a card, let me know. I already pulled one for the collective. And I'm trying to go through my notes and make sure I don't forget anything. But I've had a shoulder injury for probably about 13 years. And it recently became very intolerable. I'm in PT. I'm doing bioenergetic healing. I'm doing all the things. And the reason that it happened, I fell another time. And it was me trying to show off for people who aren't even in my life and didn't stay in my life very long thereafter. But chronic pain, especially the shoulders, has a lot to do with resentment. And it's like an acid, stress, burden. The weight of the world is on your shoulders. And at that time, when I had the original injury, I did have a lot of bitterness and I did have a lot of resentment because I was in a relationship with those people that was suffocating me. And I didn't want to admit that it was me settling. It was me just accepting the status quo because they'd always been in my life and their toxicity was starting to infiltrate my body because I was having that open space for their energy to come in and disintegrate everything I was trying to build for myself, the self-confidence I was trying to build for myself. And then I've always had stomach issues all of my life, as anybody who's known me for any length of time. And stomach issues, the neuropsychological background to that is digestion of ideas and what's going on in your life. You ever go through something new or you start to get really nervous or really scared, and you start to get these knots in your stomach, and processing new ideas and processing new concepts. And it's maybe even an indication of dread, of fearing what newness will bring. A lot of people are very scared, very skeptical of change, because they pretty much already know what's already happening in their life. And now they have to face this new thing, and they don't know what's going to happen. They have no idea what that's going to bring and what that might mean for them. And if you're in a toxic relationship or in a toxic situation, even though it's toxic and you may very well know that, you already know what to expect. You already know what triggers. You already know how to plan it out. And that even though it might be traumatic, it's still safe because you know what's going to happen and you don't want to change it because you know what's going to happen, even if you know that it's going to be a traumatic, awful debacle of an event. And a lot of my resentment, my inability to accept and feel burdened, was because I was carrying around this old story and I didn't realize it was still floating around in my head. And it forced me to reprogram that negative garbage that I was holding on. Old habits die hard. If you've been telling yourself something or you've let a negative thought infiltrate your mind and it's replaying over and over and over in your mind, sometimes it's hard to break that habit. And I was legitimately ashamed I'd let this old thought pattern dictate my life even now. And I had to reprogram my mind to know that I deserve, I'm worthy, I can do anything, I'm more than enough. And there's no other shoe to drop. Sometimes we're so worried about Murphy's Law that we almost trick our minds into thinking that nothing good can happen. And it's always been a terrible event. It's always been this awful set of events, these things that are happening. But you have to reprogram a story. You have to reprogram that story because a belief is just a thought you've held for a period of time and you gather support for it. So in order to change that belief, you have to change the thought that you're holding to gather gather evidence to support the new belief. And once you start to change that, whatever old belief you're holding, you start gathering evidence to support this new belief, then you can create a new belief. And I'd squelched this huge part of myself in fear of what other people would say. I was petrified that, the status that I've accomplished wouldn't be believed. In fact, there's a video that I did a few days ago called Saboteur to Seductress. And it's about how I let this negative thought infiltrate my brain, my authority, my character. And I started to wonder if my worth would be, called into question. And I felt uncertain because if you remember what I just said, remembering that thoughts and feelings of other people that they spew onto you has zero to do with you. It's everything to do with them and their mind and their thought process and where they are in their life. And one lesson I've consistently had to learn over and over and over again is to detach from what other people think. You can't let their thoughts of you change how you feel about your worth, and let your happiness and their actions and what they do or don't do, what they say or don't say, whether they go or don't go, whether they stay or don't stay. You cannot let your self-worth and your mind program be dictated by other people's their programming and the way they want to program you. A lot of people, they'll say something to you or they'll discourage you in a way based on their fears and based on where they are in their life and their thought processes, and some people, and this is something I've had to learn, and it's been a painful lesson, is especially people you grew up around, family, friends, church members, wherever you hung out. Sometimes they're so afraid you're going to outdo them. It's that lobster analogy where they want to keep pulling you down because they can't imagine you doing better or you outshining them, which you can't outshine anybody. Like, you shine your light. It doesn't mean that you're dimming someone else's light, and to really take ownership of that. And so often we allow our own self-worth to be dictated by what other people do or say. And a lot of what we have and a lot of the pain that manifests in our body is because of the mind fuckery that people have spewed upon us, that negative thought we have. And I bet you all the money in the world that the negative thought that's running through your head isn't even the first, like, you're not even the first person to think that. Someone that you loved, whose opinion mattered, who you cared about, who you looked up to, who you wanted to approve and stamp their approval on your life or your decision, they're the first person who doused your dreams, doused your hopes and desires, or told you it wasn't possible, told you you weren't good enough, told you you couldn't have it, and you let that record play over and over and over in your head consistently. And because of that event, those words, they were hammered into your brain for decades and eons, you now think it's true. But you don't have to just tolerate through life carrying that burden of what other people think of you. Because there is a causal relationship, there is science behind this, that your mind and your thought patterns do impact your immune system and your pain. And when I fell in front of the auditorium, what patterns started to roll around in my head thereafter was I'm clumsy. And I believed that I was clumsy. I'd been told I was clumsy. That event proved that I was clumsy. It was a beautiful ceremony. It was an award ceremony. I was going to get an award. I misstepped and fell in front of the entire auditorium, and everybody started laughing at me. Everybody started, it was bad. It was like this thunderous laughter erupted through the whole building, and I wanted to die. I just wanted the floor to open up and devour me. And it didn't help that I'd been told for years and years and years, you're clumsy, you're clumsy, you're going to drop that, you're going to break that, you're going to trip, you're going to humiliate yourself. So I opted out of things. Like there's things I wouldn't do, places I wouldn't go, events I wouldn't get involved in certain situations because I was afraid that I was clumsy. And I'd had people tell me I was clumsy. I had that one event where I tripped, and other events that I let myself be clumsy enough to fall and trip and prove myself right. And I used to think all the time, I'm gonna trip, I'm gonna trip, I'm gonna fall, I'm going to hurt myself, I'm gonna embarrass myself. And then I started to think, what if I hadn't fallen that day? What if I didn't believe that I was clumsy? What if I had not let those thoughts and those people and that event dictate the way I saw myself? And the key to debunking a limiting belief is to what I call the lab test. You put the limiting belief at the top of the paper, and you count out about 5 or 6 things that disprove it. So I'm going to take you through how I disprove that I'm not clumsy. I walk all the time. I'm not tripping. I've lived in a 2-story house probably for the last 10 years, different houses, but they were both 2-story. I didn't fall. I fell twice in this house, but that was also because I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. There's tons of events where I didn't drop anything, I didn't break anything, I wasn't clumsy, nothing happened. And usually when I do drop something, it's because I'm going too fast. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I'm no more or less clumsy than anybody else. And typically when I've fallen, I've had on flats. It's not even like I had on heels or anything. And then the biggest caveat came, and it just almost blew me away. The people who were calling me clumsy were speaking from their own brain. Their limiting belief and their decision to beat me down and to make me feel less than was more really what it was really about. And the deeper meaning is they wanted me to fall on my face. And this isn't something I've made up. I really thought about this because I'm the first person to criticize my own self. I'm very hard on myself. So I was like, where is this really coming from? And the people that used to call me clumsy really have no positive will towards me. Everything I do is just so they don't really think anything of it. Like I could find the cure to cancer and they blow it off because they don't see any value in who I am. So whatever your limiting belief is, it could be any number of things. Whatever yours is, maybe you were told that you can't sing or you don't belong somewhere, you can't do something, or you suck in an area. Play around with the idea. What if you've never been told that? What if whatever it is, you were never told that? What if no one ever told you that? What if you decided that you were not going to any longer embrace what somebody else said or someone else's value of you? What if you just decided to not include that in the equation of figuring out the sum total of your worth? What if you decided to never let those preconceived notions cloud your judgment? What if you decided that you were only going to base your worth on what you could actually prove that you were doing well and if you saw yourself in this positive light the way you're supposed to be seen. And think about if it was your best friend or your child or your niece or your favorite person in the world, you would lift them up and you would encourage them. You wouldn't douse their dreams and hopes and hurt their feelings. So whenever you get so in your head, just reprogram it. Think about the opposite. And what if no one had ever said that? What if that event had never occurred? You know how much time and energy and what quantum leaps have occurred just by me reprogramming, just going 5 minutes before that happened or a day before that happened, and thinking about what my life would be like and what my assessment of myself and what I believe I could accomplish, what that would do to me. What if you chose to own who you were and not let other people's words penetrate you? What if you decided your worth and the estimation of your total self-worth was far bigger and more and exceeded all of the expectations, exceeded the greatest number you could ever think of? And if your mean girl, inner mean girl, inner mean person is anything like mine, you're gonna have this conversation where you're like, what if I ignored everyone and put on blinders? And then your inner saboteur is going to say, you can't ignore people. You can't ignore what people think. And then ask, why can't you? And then, of course, the next thing is going to be you would reply that you can't live on an island without other people's opinion. And then, why can't you? At least in your head, because you need connection. Well, what if you consider the fact that if you're going to be connected, why not be connected to a positive source instead of something that's draining you and hurting you and challenging how good you feel about yourself and therefore how you show up in the world? And as soon as you get to the root of it and you keep going through it, and it takes a little bit of time sometimes, especially when you're used to the negativity, you'll start to hear crickets eventually. Sometimes you'll have this inner dialogue and it'll go for a while. But once you get to the root of it, get to the bottom of what's causing your pain, you'll find that it's most likely some lame story someone fed you that you digested. And then usually your pain is going to manifest itself right at that moment in your life, in that crux position of your life, in that path, in that fork in the road in your life where it's time to vomit that old garbage up and assess it and call it the lie that it is. And there's this quote, I just found it recently, and it changed my life. It's better to trip with your feet than with your tongue. You can always get up after you fall. But remember, what has been said can never be unsaid, especially cruel and hurtful things. And that is something to live by, especially with regard to yourself. You can fall and get up, unless you break something. But when you say something to yourself and to other people, that can't be undone, but it can be reprogrammed. But it takes work. So oftentimes it's better just to be careful about how you talk to yourself and how you talk to other people and how you let other people talk to you. Because most likely they're only going to do to you what you allow. And that's also a difficult pill to swallow because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but why stand there and let them hurt your feelings? It doesn't add up, does it? If you really think about it for what it really is. But that's all I had for tonight. If you want more support in this area or any pain that you're experiencing, if you're finding it hard to debunk or reprogram that thought garbage, or your pain is finally hit the fan, you can't take it anymore, or my favorite, you've seen just about every doctor and you still can't find a definitive answer of what's causing your pain, my private practice, Primal Holistic Health Solutions, is accepting clients. More than happy to support you. Our specialty is pain relief and pain management, mental and emotional health, mind, body, soul health, total body health. You can grab a initial abbreviated full consultation, and then we have, if you decide to move forward, the full consultations where we have the full evaluation recommendation series and follow-up regarding the evaluation series. The appointments are on your time, your schedule. It's telemedicine, so we talk over a secure database where we can communicate, and I can give you recommendations, and we can sift through the pain and the root cause and how it started and when it started and what's going on and how to resolve it holistically from the whole body, because holistic health for me is not just healing the pain, but healing everything that surrounds it, so that you're eating healthy, you're living healthy, you have a healthy mindset, And my goal, my purpose in life is to support you really understand how your mind and thought patterns impact your immune system, your life, and your pain, because there is a causal relationship. It isn't something that I just made up yesterday or the day before. It is real science behind how your thought patterns manifest itself into physical pain. And if you're wondering how and why, think about anything that you just let sit for a while. It starts to stink and starts to mold and mildew and fester and grow, and you have to fix it. You have to heal it. You have to clean it. You have to excavate it. You have to get the debris and the garbage out of it, and you have to clean it. And if it's any type of wound, you have to sanitize it and put that neosporin on it and all that iodine. Is it iodine or it's an ion of some sort? And I can't remember all the days not to remember. But I'm going to put the card in the comments. If, like I said, if you want a personal card, just put a emoji in the comments. I'll come back around and pull one for you. But the card today is absolutely perfect. It is the Ray card, and it's saying to engage in meditation and yoga, which has the wonderful ability to enhance connection to self, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. And a meditative mindset better enables your soul to manifest things in the physical form. So if you're trying to manifest things and you want to get clear on how and what that is, getting into a space of meditation is second to none. And it helps you to better manifest said thing into your life, whatever that thing is, whether it's a mate, a child, money, a new house, a new car. I meditated for a long time over the house I'm in now. I love my house. This is definitely my forever home. I have everything I want. It's far enough away, but close enough. And it's just the most amazing place. But I really focused on what I wanted in a house. Before I ever saw this house, I meditated on what kind of house I wanted to raise my daughter in and what kind of house I wanted to live in. And this is exactly what I wanted. Like, literally, even the stuff I forgot I wanted, this house has it. But it was me getting into the space to know it's mine to have. And I was almost not going to get it. Like, they told me this house had already been sold and it wasn't going to be up for sale. And miraculously, the lady called me and she's like, yeah, the house is for sale. When can you put in an offer? That was nothing but pure manifestational power, because this house was not supposed to be mine. And here I am living in it, and we just celebrated a year here. And it's important to take time every single day to center and to just be. And as a single homeschooling mom, I know that finding time away from your children can be very difficult, but you have to, in order to pour into them, you have to pour into yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. And recenter and rejuvenate. Life is a journey, and if you don't take the time to do what's best for you, even on a plane, they tell you to put your mask on first. You've got to find some inner peace in order to be able to move forward in life, no matter what your goals are. So I'm going to head out. I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I hope that this served you, because even though I was doing the lecturing or the teaching, it moved me in ways I didn't expect. So it's always be open to moving and growing, evolving, and rising up, because it's possible. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. So thanks for your time. Press replay where you think this would be appropriate. I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, and thank you so very much for your time. Have a great one.